A couple of months ago, I posted a video about how Spanish doesn't use glottal stops as audible separations between words. Instead, in spoken Spanish, words flow together so that whole phrases are pronounced as if they were one long word. If you haven't seen that video yet, I recommend that you stop and watch it now. It's pretty short, and it's a nice intro for today's topic. The phenomenon of Spanish words flowing together is known as enlace in Spanish, or linking in English. And in today's video, we'll learn the pronunciation rules governing linking so that you can increase your understanding of Spanish as spoken by natives and improve your own pronunciation. Let's jump right in and take a look at the categories of linking that you need to know about. Oh, and just so you know, in phonetic transcription, I'll use this symbol that looks a bit like a question mark to represent the glottal stop. When the same vowel appears both at the end of one word and at the beginning of the next word, in slow speech the vowel sounds merge into one slightly elongated vowel sound, and in fast speech they tend to merge into a single vowel sound of ordinary duration. The tendency for native English speakers is to audibly separate these adjacent words with a glottal stop. So that you can hear what I'm talking about, I'll pronounce each of these examples first with an English-style glottal stop, then slowly with accurate Spanish pronunciation without a glottal stop, then at a more normal speed without a glottal stop. Observe that for purposes of phonetics, silent H is ignored, so syllables that start with silent H are treated as if they started with a vowel. Va a hacer. Va a ser. Va a ser. La acción. La acción. La acción. Fue entonces. Fue entonces. Fue entonces. Muy importante. Muy importante. Muy importante. Si intentas. Si intentas. Si intentas. Oro o plata. Oro o plata. Oro o plata. Otro hombre. Otro hombre. Otro hombre. Su ubicación. Su ubicación. Su ubicación. Su utilidad. Su utilidad. Su utilidad. I hope you were able to hear how each of these word pairs or phrases was shortened as the vowels at word boundaries were merged. Again, you may recall from my video on syllabification that when a strong vowel and a weak vowel appear side by side in a word, they form a single syllable diphthong. Well, since pronunciation rules apply across word boundaries, the same thing occurs in word pairs where a strong and weak vowel come together. Here are some examples pronounced first with an English-style glottal stop, then slowly without a glottal stop, and then at a normal pace without a glottal stop. Observe that in the more accurate pronunciations, the utterance is one syllable shorter because the letters at the word boundaries come together to form a single syllable. La inocencia. La inocencia. La inocencia. Una inspiración. Una inspiración. Una inspiración. Fue inventado. Fue inventado. Fue inventado. Se interesa. Se interesa. Se interesa. Mundo imperfecto. Mundo imperfecto. Mundo imperfecto. Palacio imperial. Palacio imperial. Palacio imperial. Cultura humana. Cultura humana. Cultura humana. I hope you were able to hear how the vowels formed diphthongs and sometimes triphthongs and effectively made the accurately pronounced utterance one syllable shorter than it was with the English-style glottal stop. Now, just as in the middle of a word, when a strong and a weak vowel come together and the weak vowel is stressed, then they don't form a diphthong. Instead, they form a hiatus, which is pronounced as two separate syllables. When this occurs across word boundaries, the weak vowel usually doesn't have a written accent mark over it. It's usually just the naturally stressed syllable in the word it belongs to. In these cases, even though the two vowels constitute two different syllables, there still isn't a glottal stop between them. Here are some examples pronounced first with an English-style glottal stop, then slowly without a glottal stop, and then at a normal pace without a glottal stop. Ha ido, ha ido, ha ido. ¿A dónde iba? ¿A dónde iba? ¿A dónde iba? Lo hice, lo hice, lo hice. Una uva, una uva, una uva. Belleza única, belleza única, belleza única. Parte útil, parte útil, parte útil. So in each of these cases, the two vowels don't reduce to a diphthong because the weak vowel is stressed, and they aren't shortened by a syllable. However, there still isn't a glottal stop between them like there would be in English, which makes them flow together much more smoothly than a native English speaker might expect. It's also possible for two strong vowels to come together at word boundaries. You may recall from my video on Spanish syllable structure that when two strong vowels appear side by side in the middle of a word, they constitute a hiatus, which is different from a diphthong in that each strong vowel acts as the nucleus of its own syllable. So unlike diphthongs, hiatuses are two syllables, not one. It turns out that hiatus is sometimes reduced to the most similar sounding diphthong, but this phenomenon is highly variable, depending on phonetic context and also varying from dialect to dialect around the Spanish-speaking world, and even from one native speaker to another. Someday soon I'll make a video on how hiatuses reduce to diphthongs, but my recommendation for students is that as a rule they not reduce hiatuses to diphthongs. Accordingly, I'll pronounce the following examples as hiatuses. I'll pronounce each of the following examples first with an English-style glottal stop, then slowly without a glottal stop, then at a more normal speed without a glottal stop. Cada estado, cada estado, cada estado. Apoya otra, apoya otra, apoya otra. Debate anterior, debate anterior, debate anterior. Nombre oficial, nombre oficial, nombre oficial. Solo aparece, solo aparece, solo aparece. 8 elementos, 8 elementos, 8 elementos. I hope you were able to hear that in the more accurate pronunciations there was no audible separation between words, even though the number of syllables in the utterance remained the same. Of course, Spanish words may also end in a consonant. When one word ends with a consonant and the next word begins with the same consonant, in slow speech the consonant sounds merge into one slightly elongated consonant sound, and in fast speech they may even merge into a single consonant sound of ordinary duration. In the case of R, they merge into a trilled R. I'll pronounce each of these examples first with a pause or space between the identical consonants, then slowly with the consonants merged, then quickly with the consonants merged. Mitad del mes, mitad del mes, mitad del mes. Autoridad directa, autoridad directa, autoridad directa. Del libro, del libro, del libro. El lado, el lado, el lado. Tienen noticias, tienen noticias, tienen noticias. ¿Quién necesita? ¿Quién necesita? ¿Quién necesita? Por regla, por regla, por regla. Dar respuestas, dar respuestas, dar respuestas. ¿Cuáles son? ¿Cuáles son? ¿Cuáles son? Los siguientes, los siguientes, los siguientes. I hope you were able to hear how the similar consonants merge together into a single sound. The final case I'll discuss is when one word ends with a consonant and the next word starts with a vowel. You may recall from my video on Spanish syllable structure that Spanish prefers open syllables, so whenever a single consonant appears between vowels, that consonant is grouped with the following vowel and not the preceding one. And as I say in almost all my videos on pronunciation, Spanish pronunciation rules apply across word boundaries, including rules on how to form syllables. So if one word ends with a consonant and the following word starts with a vowel, in fluid natural speech the consonant at the end of the first word is pronounced as if it came at the beginning of the first syllable of the following word. I'll pronounce each of the following examples first with an English-style glottal stop, then slowly without a glottal stop, then at a more normal speed without a glottal stop. Observe that in the more accurate pronunciations, the consonant at the end of the first word is pronounced at the beginning of the following word. El hombre, el hombre, el hombre. Los abogados, los abogados, los abogados. ¿Cuál es? ¿Cuál es? ¿Cuál es? Es uno. Es uno. Es uno. Hacer esto. Hacer esto. Hacer esto. Del año. Del año. Del año. El aparato. El aparato. El aparato. Según algunos. Según algunos. Según algunos. Con algo. Con algo. Con algo. Estados Unidos. Estados Unidos. Estados Unidos. I hope you were able to hear the difference between the pronunciations with a glottal stop and those without a glottal stop. Now let's listen to some examples of complete sentences. Observe that medium-length phrases consisting of several words at a time between pauses are pronounced as if they were a single long word. I'll forgo pronouncing these examples with inaccurate pronunciation. I'm sure you've had enough of that. I'll just pronounce them at a normal pace with accurate pronunciation. Nunca es tarde para aprender algo. Si imitas a los malos serán unos de tantos. Una imagen dice más que 1000 palabras. La unión hace la fuerza. A la cama no te irás sin aprender algo más. La mejor salsa es el buen apetito. Consejo no pedido es consejo mal oído. El amor y la felicidad no se pueden ocultar. La novedad de hoy es lo antiguo de mañana. Amigos sin dinero ni los busco ni los quiero. Alright, so how should you, as a student of Spanish, approach this concept of Spanish linking? During spontaneous speech, you'll almost certainly not be able to remember all the various categories and account for things like forming diphthongs, moving consonants from one word to another, or shortening utterances by a syllable. But you shouldn't worry about that right now. The purpose of this video is more to help you prepare your ears to understand native speech than it is to get you to pronounce all these subtle nuances perfectly yourself, at least in the near term. Here's what I think you should focus on in your own speech. Don't use glottal stops. That's all. If you can learn to quit using English-style glottal stops, that will be a huge improvement. And how do you do that? Practice reading in Spanish out loud to yourself a half hour a day or so to practice your pronunciation. Do this even if you already speak, read, and write Spanish well and you don't think you need to read out loud. Focus on only one element of pronunciation at a time when you do this sort of exercise. In this case, focus on not using glottal stops. Figure out how to stop using glottal stops and you'll have made an improvement most English-speaking students of Spanish aren't even aware they need to make. Alright, this has been our discussion of Spanish linking. If you've learned something, please give this video a like, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on future content. If you have any questions about the Spanish language, please ask in the comments. I keep a list of viewers' questions that I consult when deciding what video to make next.